This is Lab 8, Investigation 3, Activity 3-1. I have the circuit set up like the schematic diagram in Activity 3-1. This end of this white wire is 0.2. The end of the red wire coming from the power supply is 0.1. This is connected to a light bulb. The light bulb is connected to a capacitor. And the capacitor has a wire that kind of comes around here. That is our 0.2. It's kind of like one branch. And then the other end of the capacitor is attached directly to the negative terminal of our power source. So the question 3-1 says, sketch it when it's in position 1. When it's in position 1, it's as if this white wire isn't even here. So in position 1, your circuit's going to look like just having this. You're going to have a power supply, a capacitor, a bulb. That's circuit 1. But when I move it to circuit 2, it's as if I take the power supply out of it, and this would be then just the white wire here. So this would be circuit 2 when position 2 is connected, and circuit 1 would be when these wires are connected over here. That's circuit 1. Make a schematic diagram of that for question 3-1, and then make a schematic diagram of circuit 2 when that's disconnected and it's connected over here. Make your prediction 3-1. What do you think is going to happen when I connect these two wires and leave it there for a little bit? Predict what's going to happen to the circuit. Remember, in here, I've got a big piece of metal, like a sheet of aluminum foil with lots of area, separated, not touching another sheet of aluminum foil. You can imagine it that way, like the parallel plate capacitor. And so how are these charges going to behave in this circuit? Pause your video and make your prediction 3-1. We're going to start with it in position 2, and I did this for about 20 seconds beforehand. And now we're going to make the circuit 1 connected. Now watch what happens to our circuit. Did you catch that? The light bulb was bright and then it became dimmer. So I'd like you now to draw a sketch of the proximate brightness of the bulb as a function of time. Question 3-2. When it was first connected, the bulb was the brightest, but over time, the bulb became less bright. Make a sketch of what that would look like on page 158. Pause the video and make your prediction 3-2. What do you think is going to happen when we move it to position 2? Okay, you've made your prediction. We're ready to test it out. I'm going to connect these two together. Oh, did you notice that? That's kind of interesting. The bulb was bright again, and then it grew dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and is no longer lit. So make a sketch of that graph for question 3-3. When I connect it position 1, bulb's bright and goes dim. And when I connect it position 2, oh, the bulb's bright and goes dim. It's kind of curious behavior. See if you can figure out what's happening here. What a lovely tangle of wires. We're ready to collect some data. I've gone ahead and I've done steps 4, 5, and 6, and we're ready to do step 7. So I zeroed the probes. I'm looking at it right now. And for the setup, it's the same thing that we had before. This is still 0.2, and that's still 0.1. Here's a light bulb. But I've put a current sensor between the light bulb and the capacitor. And notice that the arrow is pointing towards the capacitor. So if I get a positive reading, current is going here from the bulb to the capacitor. I've also put my voltage sensor across the capacitor where the positive one is on that side of the capacitor that has kind of a connection to the positive terminal. It kind of goes through the bulb, but that's the one that's connected to the positive terminal. And the part of the capacitor connected to the negative terminal, well, that's my black wire. So I've got my plus and minus for my voltage sensor, and I've got my current sensor. Those are the two things when students do it, very easy to have the arrow pointing that way or to have these wires mixed up. And that's going to affect then your graphs in terms of plus and minus. So we've got that set up. We've zeroed it. It says that we want to move it to position 2. That would be then position 2. And then we're going to start collecting data. So I will do that. I'm going to hit collect. And I'll put it on position 2. And it doesn't look like anything. Now move it to position 1. All right, I got a little spike there because I was sloppy. And now I'll move it back to position 2. And that's what we get. So that first little spike that we saw was because when I moved it to position 1, I slipped off of it, and then I got a firmer setting. When I moved it back to position 2, I was able to get a firm setting. So it's an interesting shape pattern that we got. This will be uploaded into OneNote for the remote learning data files.